The Florida Maquis is absolutely blessed to have the best, most well-informed audience on YouTube, bar none. An audience that has the ability to understand the lies that they're being told in the mainstream media, and the intelligence to be able to see through and peer through that veil and understand the truth. There are stories going on in South America that are going to change life in America radically in the next 3, 5, and 10 years. One of the big things that's going to happen is, I know a lot of you are of the age when you remember the signs that had one price of gas for cash and another price of gas for credit. There's going to be yet a third one put up there for crypto. And crypto is going to depart from the other two radically, being much, much, much more affordable, encouraging people to convert into cryptocurrencies. And next week on the Patreon channel, we are going to delve into why. And other than the overall reason, of course, to go to a cashless society, everybody knows that, but how they're going to affect it. But in today's video here, we are going to talk about something that's going on in two specific countries in South America. Argentina, and most recently, well, less recently, I should say, in Brazil. Brazil's here, and now most recently in Argentina. We've had these trucker strikes. And it has to do with the very reason places like Bolivia here and Venezuela up here have had their problems. You see, there's two routes you can go. You can go globalist, you can go big globe and big IMF, or you can go national and go sovereign. Both have their perils and both have their pitfalls, but one gives you sovereignty and the other one doesn't. See, the Argentinians decided to go the route of the Brazilians, and they're paying the price now. The best analogy I can give you is this. You remember that day when you've been struggling along every month and you've only had a little bit left over, but you've got the bills paid and you don't really have any debt, and then you get that credit card offer in the mail, and you have that weak moment, you go ahead and you sign for it, and a week or so later you get that nice brand new shiny credit card with basically what seems to be a free $1,500 or $2,000, and you can take your kids shopping, or you can buy your better half a nice dinner and maybe that dress she's been wanting. But we all know down the road there's going to be a piper to pay. And when you get that addiction going to debt, there's going to be much more hurt down the road. And that's what's happened to Argentina and Brazil. And of course, there will always be a nice big fat bank ready to help you refinance that, or give you another card, or more interest just for a deferred payment. As long as they can keep that vampire in you, for lack of a better term, keep that debt flowing, keep those debt notes that you call money flowing yet even farther into their pockets, so that they can turn it into more magical money they can type into more zeros. And this is what they do. If you go the big pro-US, pro-big business, big globalist route. And now they are having people down there that have figured it out. And now the time has come to pay the piper. Because what happens down there, and what would have happened here, is their money starts to inflate slowly. Or excuse me, I should say the goods and services start to inflate slowly. And taxes go through the roof. Because what happens, all of that artificial wealth is spent on goods and services from other places. It doesn't stay in the country. And you can go when you're in Argentina, and you have all of a sudden you have all this wonderful wealth and access to the internet, and you can go buy crap from Amazon and basically enrich Chinese companies and Taiwanese companies and Vietnamese companies, and probably even some American companies or Indian companies. And you get all these good and they don't get any tax revenue from that. And these are tiny governments compared to ours. And of course, their currency isn't the reserve currency with an automatic reinflator, the petrodollar. So their economies fall apart. And you see it over and over and over again down there. Places like Bolivia, you don't see this. They're not as wealthy as other countries, of course, and of course they get widely demonized by the U.S. and its allies for being what they call isolationist or dictatorial or all this other nonsense. But the reason Venezuela made more of the news than Bolivia did is because Venezuela was a founding member of OPEC. They're much closer to us. And the U.S. needed their position in the world oil market, so they had to tank them so they could take over. Not to give too much away, but what you're starting to see now is the Brent crude oil prices and U.S. oil prices start to go away from each other. Because U.S. oil is very different than oil from places like Venezuela and Africa. It's a much nastier, dirtier crude. And with the big push toward, cleaner fuels, the U.S. has positioned itself to replace those markets with its good, so to speak. And then, of course, what does it do? It buys up all of the cheap shit for itself while it exports the good stuff. And that's not going to play for me, apparently, so we're going to have to go back to here. But this was about the Argentine trucker strike, and you can watch this on Telesur. I would recommend if you are very interested in what's happening in our hemisphere, along with the hundreds dead in Guatemala that no one has said a word about, no one has even offered condolences for. It's horrible. We've seen reports of it, but no one has said a word in our government about this incredible loss of life, this incredible tragedy in Guatemala. And I'm not going to buy this argument anymore. Oh, I'm sure we're doing something. There's just so much going on. It takes, at least a week for a tweet to be approved. Yeah, tell me another one. Nope. It's, I guess it's up to technically, the death toll is there's 200 missing. They've been buried. And the mudslides, they're never going to find them. It's a horrible, horrible thing, and that at least I haven't seen it. If someone wants to correct me and say, here's where the government did acknowledge this and say they were sorry, and at least thoughts and prayers, quote unquote. But the Florida Maquis is doing training, and we have quite a few people that have sat down at the table. It's not for everybody, I'll be very honest with you. We've had people come and we've had people go. The training is going to be in-depth, and it's going to be something that's ongoing, continual. We have 5 different levels of training. The basic level at 5, the medium level at 10. The one we just did today was the $15 level. Thursdays, we put out videos for the round table, and Fridays is for the masters. And then on the weekend, we put out patron only for everybody talking about things other than training. So each day of the week, there is a video for you at your level. Mondays, of course, being basic. Tuesdays being top secret. And then, like I said, Wednesdays are special access need to know. Thursdays are roundtable, and Fridays are McKee Masters. So you will always have something for you. So we would love to have you here, and we would love to have you take part so that when we do videos and I reveal things like I did yesterday, you can see how that's done. You can see how things are found and how information is gleaned out of things that have been largely ignored by other sources and other quote-unquote investigative sites. But South America is going to be more and more driving the political stance in this hemisphere. There's 600 million plus people that live down here, and they are not going to be left to be irrelevant as they have in the past. So the people in Guatemala, Please pray for them. This isn't a big place. This is not some huge, country with vast, never-ending resources like us. When something like this happens to them, it'll change lives for a generation. So I would just ask that, politics aside or belief systems aside, that, people love their children and they are just as susceptible as we are to the forces of nature. So we'll leave it there. Thank you, everyone, so much. I really appreciate everything you guys do. Keeps me going, and we will see you next time. Like, share, subscribe.